Thanks for downloading this episode from Teachers Talk Radio. You can find the full schedule and listen back to all our shows at ttradio.org. Enjoy the podcast.
Just Finance Foundation proudly sponsors Teachers Talk Radio for Talk Money Week. Join us from Saturday the 4th of November for a week of incredible guests and thought-provoking discussions on how teachers can talk about money in the classroom. Tune in, be inspired, and empower the future generation. Teachers Talk Radio, sponsored by Just Finance Foundation, helping children manage money wisely. Visit our website for the schedule and details, justfinancefoundation.org.uk.
Good evening and welcome to Teachers Talk Radio. It is Wednesday, it's 7:30 p.m. and we are halfway through Talk Money Week. This year's theme is do one thing. Do one thing when it comes to financial education. And we've had some shows already. We've had a show from me actually, talking about loot boxes and skin betting. And we had another show as well with Hannah Wilson earlier in this week as well. We've got two more shows this Talk Money Week. We've got tonight's show on credit unions, what's the difference? And then tomorrow night with Hannah Wilson, it's also at 7:30 p.m. We have got a wonderful show looking at access to financial education, looking at SEND learners and PRUs as well. Tom Rogers, over to you.
Good evening. Thank you for that. Really enjoying the content so far. I've myself have learned quite a bit up to now about money and finance and financial education. So it's been really interesting. I'm sure tonight will be no different to that. The title for tonight's show is Credit Unions, What is the Difference? And again, we've got fantastic guests. We've got Ravi Ravindran, who is the CEO of the Lewisham and Bromley Credit Union. He's going to be joining us imminently. He's been involved with the sector for over 2 decades as a trustee of a number of local charities. He's also worked in investment management for the Post Office. And he's been working with Lifesavers and Just Finance Foundation and the schools that they support since it started almost 10 years ago. So that's Ravi, who's going to be one of the guests. And we've also got Danielle, who is from the Just Finance Foundation, and she is a financial education delivery coordinator. I think one of the things from the shows that we've heard so far this week has been really there's 2 themes for me that have come through so far. Number one is the importance of financial education, the importance of knowing the value of money. That sounds ridiculous, but the sort of fiscal responsibility side of it, and students really sort of understanding that money is worth something. And that's probably the wrong phrase. I know what I'm trying to say, but it's been something that I've sort of thought, how can we inspire those conversations? How can we talk money with students in a positive way? So this week's been great in that regard. I can see Ravi is here. I think hopefully this will be Danielle. Danielle, are you there? If you want to, there you go.
Yeah, hiya, Tom. Yeah, that's me. I'm here.
Excellent. Good evening. The second that was my point 1 from this week was that, and my point 2 was new information for me as a teacher, because when I've done PSHE lessons and stuff like that, and it's come up to topics involving money, well, sometimes it hasn't even been there, let's be honest, on the PSHE curriculum, or you haven't had time to get to it, or it hasn't been one of the pressing things. When you do get to it, quite often a lot of these actual intricacies of financial education don't necessarily come up. So for me, I've learned quite a bit from the shows we've done so far. On Saturday with Tom, and we had a show with Hannah, the first show with Hannah, and Hannah's got a second show tomorrow night. So yeah, it's been really good. So yeah, hopefully we can connect Ravi in a minute. But Denise, can I ask you? Danielle, sorry, not Denise. I don't know why I'm calling you.
That's okay.
Denise.
I'll accept that.
But I mean, it's a nice name, but I don't know why I'm calling you.
Lovely.
Danielle, can you just introduce yourself a little bit more to listeners about your story to date and how you got involved with the Just Finance Foundation?
Yeah, sure. And it's really great to hear that you feel like you've really learned something from the session so far. That is the aim, and
Yeah, don't
hopefully
worry,
some of
it's
the
mine now,
listeners
so
will
we'll learn nothing. The
as
last
well.
two sessions were brilliant. This one's just going to be like a write-off. But carry on.
Cheers. Yeah, so my background is I was a teacher, secondary teacher, and I mean, totally resonates what you've said about when it arrives on your door about having to teach about money. It's sometimes the resources aren't great, sometimes the resources don't fit with the class, and you spend so much time putting it together to fit. It's just exhausting. So actually having something that is easy to work with is our aim, and hopefully it is effortless for the teachers.
So you go into school, Danielle, yourself, and you deliver these financial education programs, right?
No,
Or you
no.
just support schools to deliver them?
Yeah, so the aim is that the teachers know their students, the teachers know their classes. So for us, we create the materials and we train the teachers so that they feel confident to deliver it. And hopefully that's come across in the last couple of sessions as well, that is obviously the aim. I mean, today we're going to talk about our savings clubs, and hopefully Ravi is ready on point to kind of step in and start talking about the credit unions. But my role is basically to recruit the schools, to get the teachers inspired and make them want to deliver our resources into their classrooms, and obviously helping them feel confident that it's going to make a difference, because that is ultimately the end game.
Just while we're connecting, Ravi, can I ask you a question, Daniel, which is more an overarching question, which is, what is the biggest, like with the students when it comes to money, what would you say the biggest challenge is with their understanding of money? What do you think I don't want to use the word problem, but what do you think is the biggest sort of thing? Because for me, like I touched on this in my intro, for me, it might be sort of fiscal responsibility and the sort of value of money and saving and stuff like that. But I wondered what's your take on that?
You know what? Honestly, at the moment in 2023, I think for teachers, the biggest thing is to try and teach children about money when all they see is digital money. And I think that is a really big concept to try and, get across. So the teachers are starting at ground zero. They're starting with coins, they're starting with plastic coins, they're starting shop role play, that kind of idea, which is brilliant. And then at some point, probably towards the end of the primary school, they're starting to go, well, hold on a minute. We need to show you that actually cash isn't that common at the moment. It's not going to go. It'll never go. But it's not that
Well, it
common.
could.
I don't think it will, purely
No.
because there are people in the world who don't trust digital money.
Yeah.
And there are people in the world who just don't want to use it. So actually, I don't think it'll ever go. But I think that it is one of the biggest problems that we try and address as well. I mean, our Milo's Money game does try and cross that bridge, which is awesome. And hopefully in the future, we'll have funding to develop more resources that will do so as well.
I've heard people mention this Milo's Money game a couple of times. Can you just very briefly explain what that is? Because I haven't heard anyone actually explain what. I've heard a lot of people talk about it, but I haven't heard anyone tell me what it is yet. What is Milo's Money game?
Yeah, of course. And I don't want to, go into this too much detail because obviously we don't want to take up Ravi's time. But Milo's Money is our Key Stage 1 early years resource. And it's got a lovely book, and the game is online and available for anyone to play. Basically, it's a little quick game where Milo does some shopping for his mum. But what you've got a Dino Pence card, which is kind of showing that digital money aspect. But it's also got the coins there, so you can see that there are coins, that there is value to the card, like straight away. Yeah. And I think that is really quite valuable to try and help bridge that concept.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. Now, we've got Ravi here. Ravi, I have sort of introduced you before you arrived, but do you want to introduce yourself to listeners first?
Hi, I'm sorry I had a bit of a technical issues.
No problem.
Joining you guys. So my name is Ravi Ravindran. I'm the CEO of Lewisham and Bromley Credit Union. So we operate in the boroughs of Lewisham and Bromley. We have about 15,000 members. We have member savings of about approximately the same 15 million thereabouts, and our loan book is about 8 million at the moment. We just recently merged with the local credit union, another local credit union, so we are much bigger than we were, say, 3 months ago.
Well, listen, Ravi, I need to ask you the question first, which is the most obvious thing, which I've been sort of asking myself for the last 2 weeks. What is a credit union?
Aha! So they say it's the most well-kept secret in the world. So credit union is basically a financial institution. The closest relative would be a building society. So it's basically a member-owned organization run by members, for members. The commonality is that they will have a common trait. So either they live in the same area, or they will have the same profession. For example, teachers, for example, could have a credit union. Postal workers would have a credit union. Our common bond, for example, is that people who live, work, or study in Lewisham or Bromley. It also has some ethical issues, the ethical traits, like it's not for profit, so any money we make, we distribute back into members' pockets.
Yeah.
And it also has a cooperative structure. So it's based on cooperative principles. Credit unions are across the world. Every single country will have a credit union, and it's based on cooperative principle, strong customer focus, or member focus. In fact, every single member is an owner, because basically, they have shares in the credit union, so they become an owner, if you like, and very much focused on financial services to helping people to have that more financial inclusiveness as well, because some people in the digital world struggle to kind of manage that. So,
but can you tell me, I mean, let's say I've got £100 now.
Mm-hmm.
Do I use a credit union instead of a bank to save that money?
Absolutely, every time.
Okay.
First of all,
can you explain why then, and what the difference is?
I can. First of all, you've got to find a bank first.
That is a very fair point.
So in our case, we have 5 branches within the locality. In Lewisham, we have 4 branches. We have more branches of the credit union than any bank in that locality. Okay, that's just one reason.
Yeah.
Apart from that, we are very much customer focused. If for your £100, we will probably, for one-off payment of £4, that's a fee we charge. That's the only fee we ever charge. We won't charge any further fees at all.
Yeah.
You have access to savings, you have access to loans, you have online facilities. You want to transfer money to whoever it is, you can do that through us.
Yeah.
All the facilities the bank might provide, and more. And what is more is we are an ethical organization.
So can you just, you've mentioned that a couple of times, can you sort of explain, because I was going to ask you about the role in the community of a credit union, but can you sort of tie that in with what is the ethical element to a credit union?
If you like, Tom, I can take on here while
if you want to jump in there, that'd be great.
Yeah, so one of the reasons we chose to work with credit unions as opposed to banks, with nothing against banks, but it was their links with the community.
So we work collaboratively with the local people, local members, local schools, social landlords. We are kind of not for profit. So because we are not for profit, we are able to support anyone who needs financial support within the community.
Got you. Okay. So why and how do credit unions work with schools?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I've worked closely with Ravi for the last couple of years, and he's been amazing. The credit union that he works at is supporting, I think in its peak was about a dozen schools. We've obviously dropped a couple where various things have happened, COVID being a really big one, but what we were able to offer quite well throughout the country at one point was a savings club, which basically was giving the schools opportunity to encourage the children to save a little bit at a time, as much as they could afford and as often as they could. And the children would hold an account through the credit union, which was obviously and still is an amazing offering that we can have, and Ravi supports that. So I mean, he's been amazing. I believe at some point he even went into schools and did assemblies and things like that, which was really great. And if credit unions are in the areas that schools who join up with us, then we can offer that as well, which is a really, really lovely thing. And it means that the children have an account that they can take away with them when they leave the primary school.
Okay. So is that like it's almost like a child bank account sort of thing,
exactly,
but with the credit union?
Yeah, exactly that. And then when they're 18, obviously that becomes an adult account, but they can take that with them. So they can watch their savings grow from when they're in primary school all the way through, and it's theirs. And I think that's what's really valuable. It's theirs. They can take ownership of this.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know, Ravi, if you're back in.
I am.
I don't.
So sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, you asked me why we are in schools. Is that right?
Yeah, I was just filling in a little bit there, Ravi. I don't know if you caught what I said, but obviously you've been working with us for a number of years, so.
Yeah, then the key elements are there's hardly anything in the curriculum. So financial education schools are very important for the young people. Obviously they grow into adults, and instilling early savings habits would obviously will be good for them in the future. Teachers, educators, working collaboratively with them, setting up savings club, and also young kids. They're about 9, 10 when they start these clubs, and they become responsible, and they become, they act like mini bank managers, mini cashiers, and things like that. So a little bit of work ethics get involved there.
I mean, Ravi was talking on there about the roles that the children take, and it's super cute. So they interview for their roles as the student cashier, which is adorable, which gives them that like experience of an interview process, which you don't normally get until you're at least 16, if not 18, which is amazing. And the teachers go through this process. I mean, there may be some selectivity depending on the teachers, but it's nice that they get to experience it anyway. Mostly it's year 5s and 6s, so those kids who are like, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
So the older ones. But
what do you mean by that? You mean like some of them play bank managers and stuff?
Exactly that. I mean, you're laughing, but it's fun, isn't it? It makes that whole process fun. It gives them practice of calculating. It gives them that responsibility, which for some of them is so valuable. They lap up responsibility, don't they? I mean, children of all ages lap that up, but it's definitely really, really great to do it when money's involved as well. Obviously, teachers are present, adults are present, sometimes parent helpers. And they are there to check it all out, to make sure it's all the right amount and that kind of thing. But it's really nice to give them the opportunity to do it.
Just Finance Foundation proudly sponsors Teachers Talk Radio for Talk Money Week. Join us from Saturday the 4th of November for a week of incredible guests and thought-provoking discussions on how teachers can talk about money in the classroom. Tune in, be inspired, and empower the future generation. Teachers Talk Radio, sponsored by Just Finance Foundation, helping children manage money wisely. Visit our website for the schedule and details, justfinancefoundation.org.uk.
Okay, makes sense. And with regards to the students, I mean, how do they respond to that? Are they sort of like, do they see it as a laugh, or do they see it as something quite serious, or how do they?
it's super serious. I mean,
Yeah.
they get ties and badges and sometimes t-shirts. I've seen all
Brilliant.
sorts on the schools. It's really amazing, and the schools go all out, and it's brilliant. So you know, they like it because, as I say, it's that responsibility. It's also them taking ownership of their own savings, and giving the children that chance. I mean, yeah, okay, parents can make a savings account for their child and they can put money in and everything, and that's lovely. But actually giving their children the opportunity to do it, even if it's only 5 pence, it really doesn't matter. It's a chance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that sort of leads me on to my next few questions I was going to ask, which were around why should we, in the world we live in today, encourage children to save? We seem to be living in a world that's well, probably much more so than it's ever been, of spend, spend, spend. I mean, you know, I can't think of a time that's probably more geared towards that. So, why should we encourage children to save? And yeah,
Yeah, it's, you know, it is the question, isn't it, really? You think about why encourage the children to save, because, like, what do they have to save for, I suppose, is the next part of that question. But actually, I mean, I think Ravi said at the beginning, it's instilling those habits, instilling those lifetime good habits. It's been mentioned before. There is research that has been done about these skills, these habits developing before the children get to 7. So, you know, that there is research out there that suggests that this is really, really vital to give them, and the practice as well. As you know, as I said, even if it's only 5p, it's the practice of doing something regularly. What is it? Something like you have to do something 7 times or something for it to become, maybe it's more than that,
yeah,
7 times
like
before it becomes
habitual.
routine, something. Yeah, it's mad, isn't it, that there is a thing. It's probably more than that, I'm not even really sure, but
Yeah,
yeah, no, and I think getting the children to save encourages them to do this later on in life, and when it's important, because, as you say, we are a bit of a spend thrifty nation at the moment. I do feel a shift. I don't know about you. I do feel a shift.
yeah.
Um,
In what
what?
sense?
Well, in the fact that you've obviously got things like energy becoming more expensive, mortgages becoming, like, loads of just
Yeah,
general adult things becoming more expensive.
yeah,
And I see on social media, I see lots of tips about being frugal, and I see lots more people feeling comfortable with secondhand items, clothes and toys and things like that.
yeah.
You know, the charity shops are heaving, where people are in and out, and you just kind of think, actually, maybe people are starting to think people are making their own bread. Maybe that's because it's cheaper. You know, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know is the honest answer from my perspective. You probably know this much more than I do. I mean, yeah, sure, on an anecdotal level, I think, yeah, I mean, um, you're probably right, on an anecdotal level. It'd be interesting to see, like, if there was a national survey on, I don't know, on habits around saving and spending. I mean, I'm sure there is. We just need to find it. But a
I think,
recent one, I mean, a very recent.
yeah, no, I think there probably is, and I mean, annoyingly, research like that doesn't come out for like 3 years after the
No,
actual
this is
event.
what I mean. So, and plus, we'd be really only looking in the last few years, wouldn't we? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And but you know, even if there isn't, it's important because, I mean, as an adult, you know that it is, things happen, like your boiler breaks, or you need something fixing on a car, or you've got to buy something for your children, like, I don't know, school uniform or what have you. So those little things, they need money. Those things that that's what children are trying to develop those habits for. They are getting that routine, getting that into their system, I suppose, is the right thing, for their futures, really.
like you mentioned the teachers, who sort of their. I'm interested in their role in that scenario. Like, do they because obviously you've got the credit union, you've got the savings clubs, you've got the students with their own accounts and whatever, saving money, which I love that idea, by the way. I think it's amazing. So what role does the teacher play in that? Like, do they facilitate that? Do they, what do they do as
Yeah, absolutely. So the teachers, I mean, there is a teacher who we generally call our champions because we think it's a really lovely name.
Yeah.
But the
Well,
teachers
why
are,
didn't you call me a champion when we started
I
this?
mean, if you like to be a champion, you can. No, so the teachers, they are there to obviously make sure it runs smoothly and make sure that there is the money that goes in the right places, because I mean that would be disaster. Let's just kind of
Yeah.
pop that one there. But they are, you know, sometimes they have their own accounts and they kind of save a little bit alongside the children, which I think is really sweet.
Yeah.
It kind of modeling, isn't it? Modeling that behavior that
Yeah.
which is really nice.
That is.
They're there to train them. They're there to show them what to do, give them confidence. I mean, what do teachers do apart from giving children confidence to be themselves and to be better and, you know, to learn? So that is really important for them.
Yeah. And what about, so I mean, how, so the actual structure of this program, like what age does this start at? You know, the savings clubs and this sort of the kids having their accounts and checking in on the accounts. Like, when does that start, and sort of how do schools start it, if that makes sense? Like, if I'm a teacher now, I am a teacher now. Let's say I'm teaching this class Friday. I want to start doing this, and I've got students who are aged from, well, I teach in an all through school, so you know, you've got primary, you've got secondary. I don't teach the primary kids, thank God. That would be like awful for them and me. But you know, but let's imagine, you know, primary and secondary students, like what age can they start doing this?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously at the moment we are limited to where there is a credit union.
Yeah.
And as Ravi said, the credit union works. People can join if they're within a particular area, or they have a particular job. Or I was speaking to somebody the other day, and there was one linked to a particular religion. So, you know, as long as it's linked to whatever the common, I think it's common bond areas. I think that's the term that the credit unions use. So if your school, let's say, for example, Tom, you did decide to teach primary school. If your school was signed up to our Lifesavers program, and you were in an area where we had a credit union that supported our program, for example, Ravi's credit union in Lewisham, we would arrange with the credit union. So we're kind of like the middleman, if you like. We would arrange with the credit union to get the accounts ready to go. The schools would send out the obligatory paperwork to the parents and families to say, would your child like to be part of our savings club? This is what you need to do, la-di-da. There'd be perhaps an assembly to introduce it, and then the schools would advertise for the cashiers, and that's it. So they get themselves all set up.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really lovely. And the system that we have, which is really nice, is an online system, so they can actually use a tablet or a laptop computer to plug in the amounts. There's also
when you say plug in the amounts, what do you mean by that? Sorry.
So the system is set up, it's kid friendly, and basically it's set up so that the children can say, right, well, Fred today has brought in 20 pence. I'm going to put 20 pence in, click it attached to their account, and that will ping through. At the end of each session, the teachers would obviously assess that and make sure that it was the right amount in the right person's account. And it would go down as a paper record as well. So you've got like lots of options there to make sure that it all goes smoothly.
Got you.
And most schools would run that once a week. They'd run it before school because that eliminates the option of the children losing that money. So it goes, you know, straight into the account.
Got you.
And then what the schools would do, and a lot of schools run it, so once a term, they would arrange with the credit union to have a withdrawal date.
Yeah.
It would all be pre-arranged, so letters would go home
Yeah.
and the credit unions would be notified so that cash could be on site.
And who deals with that? Who does those letters and stuff? Is that
that would be the school. It's a little
okay?
bit of paperwork, obviously, but
Yeah.
once it's into routine, it's not too much.
Got you.
Those would then allow the credit union to know how much is being withdrawn, and then obviously that can be given to the child at the end of the day. So this is where, you know, those student helpers that run around the primary schools, that's where they come in handy.
Yeah. So what do they do? Go on.
So they would deliver that last that last withdrawal to the child at the very end of the day, or maybe the children would come into the classroom and collect it. One of those options would happen, or maybe other options. Those are the ones I've come across so far.
Okay. Well, anyone who's listening back to this, or anybody who's just started listening, maybe halfway through or whatever, we're currently talking about credit unions, what they are, and how schools and how students can set up their own accounts as part of savings clubs that are sponsored by credit unions and supported by the Just Finance Foundation, to then have their own, almost their own savings accounts, put real money into them, correct me if I'm wrong, even if it's 20p a week or whatever it would be, and then see the results of that over time and so on. Is anything I've said incorrect there?
It is a real account,
Yeah.
Tom. I think that's what's really important about this.
Yes.
and valuable, because that link with the credit union means that it is an official account. So the child is saving in an official protected account. It's theirs forever, until they decide to take it away from the credit union. But even if they leave the primary school, it's still there.
That's amazing. And in terms of like the interest on the accounts, presumably they'll get something. Like, will they get anything at the end to say like, oh, I've put, I don't know, £1 in and I've got 2p more or something?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not the keeper of interest rates in the credit unions, but
we
I would
suggest Ravi back. Where's Ravi gone? Someone find Ravi. We need to ask him what interest they make. But I would imagine if they're putting in like 20p a week or something, they might. But there must be some sort of something at the end, I'm guessing.
That's it. I mean, I know my daughter has an account with a community bank, and I know that the interest rate on children's accounts is normally higher than an adult one. I believe that's something to do with it being slightly tax-free. So yeah, interest rate Bank of England style determined, yes, they would potentially get interest from it, which is a really good offering. So I think that is really nice. And for them doing it in school, it is practicing. I mean, even some of the role play that schools can do, where they are using shops or even playing banks. I don't know if that's a thing that schools do. It's practicing and doing it for real with the savings club. It's real money, isn't it? So it's all really, really valuable to the children. Handling money, as I said at the beginning, money, cash in hand is getting rarer. I mean, how often do you use cash to pay for anything? When was the last time you paid for anything in cash, Tom?
The only thing I currently there's two things I can possibly think of that I use cash for. Two things only, and you imagine like 20 years ago it was probably like 100. Would be one would be shopping trolleys.
Oh yes, but then do you not have the tokens?
No, I mean I could, I don't, but I still use a £1 coin for a shopping trolley, because I feel like I'm like 90 years old and I'm called, I don't know, Ethel or something, and I roll up there with my £1 coin. It's the only thing I've got in the car that is relevant to is a £1 coin.
I do the same. I keep one in my car just in case.
So that's sad, isn't it? And also Mersey Tunnel. I still use it for the Mersey Tunnel occasionally. I throw £2.35 as it is now in there for that. But other than that, I don't think there's anything else that I can think of that I specifically use cash for. I would welcome comments from anyone listening.
Yeah.
By
It's
the
rare,
way,
isn't it? I tell you, I did use cash the other day. I'm very sorry. I had a 2-day library fine. Take my hat down there. And I use cash for that because they don't accept card.
okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I would imagine libraries might still. Like, I actually disagree with you about the whole cash thing. You know, I do think we are going to move to the extinction of physical cash. I
That is
think
an interesting, yeah.
I think cards. We're obviously still going to have credit cards and all that sort of stuff, but physical
There are,
currency.
yeah, I mean, there are many places, aren't there, that say we are now cashless. Like,
Yeah,
there's a few restaurants that are saying we're now cashless. Many of our schools are saying we are now cashless, which in some situations has caused a problem with the savings clubs because they're like, we're cashless. So, it is a thing. There's lots of people saying that, but then there are definitely people out there. I've, met people who have said, I don't have my money in a bank. I don't
well,
trust them.
Miss H Teachers has just commented saying I still use cash when I go to the chippy.
Oh,
So there you go.
brilliant.
Yeah. I
And
mean, do the students have 20p's knocking around? Like, what do they like? Do they have when they bring the money into school to put into their account? Do they like where is that? Is that money? Because I'm trying to think back now. I obviously when I was a kid, it was very common to have like 20p, 50p, whatever,
yeah.
10p. Is that the same now? I don't even know. Like, I
Yeah, I
don't
think
know. Yeah,
so. I mean, it's easier for a relative to give children physical money, isn't it? Because children don't often have, I mean, I don't know what age children are getting phones these days, but they don't often have digital money, I'm going to kind of throw out there.
no,
So how if you were like a family member and you wanted to
yeah,
give somebody some money, even if it's £1,
yeah,
you would do it in cash.
yeah, yeah. No,
Um,
you're right.
I mean, we play a little transaction game at home with my daughter where we open up her bank account on my phone and I say, how much would you like? And then she goes, oh, mummy, can I have £1, please? And I say, okay, right, let's do that. And then we watch it change on the account. So, do a little thing there. And I think it's important to get the children experiencing this sort of transaction, getting them
Yeah,
experiencing bits and pieces like that. And yeah, I mean, it's nice. Like if you give, I actually did a training today with a school, and one of the teachers said to me, they said, we were given 2p. Now, I'm not going to say anything, but this possibly does say a little bit about the age of the teacher in question. 2p to go to the shop and spend it on whatever they wanted. And they loved it. They loved the transaction. I mean, what you could buy for 2p at that time, I don't know, but it's nice, that idea, isn't it? And I think if you give a child 20p, and I mean, maybe 20p is too small, but an amount of money, and you say, go on, off you go. It's that confidence of going up to the cashier and saying, oh, can I have this, please, as a child.
mm. No, absolutely. I mean, the importance of it is to me very obvious. I think. Do you need to go, Danielle, in a couple of minutes? I think possibly you do. So I've got like one or two more questions, if that's okay, just to finish
Yeah,
off.
carry on.
So my sort of my last question was going to be, which you've all sort of answered, but in a nutshell, is how a school or a teacher can, if they wanted to tomorrow, in the easiest way. Obviously, I'm guessing they need to check if there's a credit union in their area, but presumably they can contact like the Just Finance Foundation, for example, and say, I'd like to have a go at this savers scheme. And then
Yeah,
you could get
no,
the ball rolling that way potentially.
yeah, definitely. That's, we have coordinators scattered around the country because of this lovely world of online working. So for me, I'm Southwest. We've got Emma, London, Southeast. We've got Paul across the middle, Hayley and Sarah up north. and they are, you know, the area representatives. But basically, there's a team email account, and if they ping us a message, someone will get back to them, and we will make it happen if possible. It's it's been a little bit of a challenge in some places because I mean, Ravi did mention that he's absorbed another credit union in the area. Some of them have struggled, I think, with lots of people doing their banking online and various bits and pieces. I don't know if that's the reason, but some of the credit unions have struggled. So we have lost a few, which has been sad, but hopefully we've got a few more to pick up. I've had some interesting conversations with one in the southwest, so that's quite nice. And hopefully we can kind of get it rolling, and we'd love to offer it. This was when Lifesavers started, way back when, with the initiative from Justin Welby. It was one of the things that it was part of it. You know, the Savings Clubs was one of the initiatives that made it special. And it still does, because it's still something we can offer, just not everywhere at the moment, which is unfortunate.
Does Justin Welby ever retweet you on your...
Occasionally, yeah.
He followed you. So I was like, why doesn't Justin retweet you? Come on, Justin, you listening to it?
I think he's a pretty busy guy.
He's a busy guy, but in between the press, all he has to do is click that finger down, click retweet. Come on, Justin.
I would say he has a team of people who do things. So occasionally we do get the support, but it's nice to know that if we ask nicely, he does give it to us.
No,
so it's great.
I was in jest there. I mean, it is fantastic that he is supporting that initiative, because it is a really good idea, and it is I can tell you that a lot of the students I've taught down the years, even at secondary level, you know, like year sevens, I can think of, would have benefited greatly from something like this. You know, it really would have made a difference to them in their way of thinking about money and finance in a very practical way, rather than just telling them, I'll save money because it's the right thing to do and it's good. You know, this is very practical. And, you know, I wasn't expecting, if I'm honest, to get through this conversation, come out the end and be thinking, oh, that's something new. You know, to me, I haven't come across this before. So it's something new to me. So I'm sure it'll be new to many people. And that, you know, I think it's something that is well worth more people knowing about, you know.
It definitely is. And what I would say is that even if schools can't take on the Savings Club because there isn't a credit union in their area, we would still encourage the classroom role plays and the resource. We've got many resources talking about saving. So I would definitely still encourage just inspiring the children to save, because I think that is one of the things that is so valuable about financial education in the classroom, is getting those good habits in for the children, setting them up for the future, whether it's breaking cycles, whether it's continuing old ones, whatever it is. I think it's really, really valuable for them.
Amazing. Danielle, listen, thank you so much for talking to me. I really found it interesting. And yeah, we'll touch base again soon. Thank you. Keep up the good work. And yeah, good night.
Thank you so much for having us, Tom.
Brilliant. Thanks, Danielle. Bye. That was Danielle Hunt from the Just Finance Foundation, who she delivers financial education programs to support schools across the UK with the Just Finance Foundation. What a really interesting scheme that is. Really, I can imagine how engaging it would be. If you want to find out a little bit more about that scheme, you can actually visit Just Finance Foundation at justfinancefoundation.org.uk. Now, on their main homepage, you can contact them, of course. You can do that. You can have a look at the work they do. You can check out the Lifesavers schemes that they run. You can support them by donating to the wonderful and valuable work that they do. You can also contact them about the scheme we've been discussing in the show today. At the very foot of the page, there's a contact us button. Click that, go in there, and you've got the email there that you can contact anybody from the team and see if you can set up your own Savers Club. It's certainly something that I would do if it was available. I'm going to have a look. I'm going to see if there's any credit unions in Bolton or Greater Manchester that run this, because it's really interesting. And I hope that you yourself, listener, have heard the value in what we've discussed. So with regards to this Talk Money Week, we've got one more show left, which is tomorrow evening. That is with the wonderful, the amazing Hannah Wilson, who is presenting that one again. If you missed her previous show, that one was on Tuesday. I'm losing track of the days here, but I think it was on Tuesday with Hannah. And she, was it Monday? Hang on, it was Monday. Oh my God, whatever. Monday. It was earlier in the week. Go on, Tom.
It was Monday.
There we go. See what I mean? But Hannah was on, and Tom was on Saturday. So if you want to listen back to those, all you have to do is go to the TT Radio website, ttradio.org, click on the Listen Back tab at the top, and then you can just look on there, scroll down, you'll find those shows. So, for example, we've got Innovation in Financial Education, which was Hannah's show. That's on the top row there when you go on the Listen Back page. And then also we've got Why is Financial Education So Important from Saturday. We're going to be sharing all of these out with all the subscribers we have. So you can actually listen to all four of the show, all four parts, if you like, of our specials on Talk Money. You can listen back to them all. We'll send an email out to everybody so you can access them all very easily. Another big thanks to Danielle. Shame that Ravi couldn't join us. Maybe he can join, I don't know, maybe he could join with Hannah. Maybe we can sort that out so he can come back. I don't know. We can see. We can see. But thanks very much for listening, everybody. We'll be back soon again on TTR.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.